Aquaproof 7-in-1. High-performing waterproofing paint, Nippon Paint. The coatings expert.
This is like a maze. Actually, they use the word tunnel, a dark tunnel almost, that you can't see where you're going. But we need to find the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So how do you do that, right?
Sri Lanka is adrift and directionless, and steps into 2023 with great many unknowns as the government has failed to provide a roadmap to its people, avers SJB MP Dr. Harsha De Silva. Parliamentary Committee on Public Finance chairman pointed to media reports stating the central bank for the first time since 2008 has not laid out a roadmap for 2023. Alongside that, different factions of government keep saying the IMF bailout will come in December, perhaps January, whilst others say May or June. Accordingly, De Silva says Sri Lanka is akin to a vehicle running on a road with its GPS off and is clueless on where it will end up on the map. It is easier to know where we are going on a map, but we don't know. Then Governor Cabral said in 2021 October that he had a roadmap to collect $12 billion in 2022 which would be updated this year. The central bank now says such roadmaps have led us to this predicament, where instead of going to Kotte it has gone to Beliata. But there is no idea whatsoever as to where we are going next year. The SJB MP expressed hope the government has a plan how to survive and help people meet the basic needs should the country fail to reach an agreement with the IMF on the proposed disbursement of an aid package of close to $3 billion. He said government must draw up contingencies to face up to such a situation, but expressed little confidence in its ability to do so.
Celebrating 20 years of absolute trust. Lankan, your trusted payment network.
Big story these days is that Kristalina Georgieva, the IMF managing director, had mentioned at a recent roundtable, or rather recent discussion with another colleague and an expert on the subject, that she was a little bit more optimistic about China coming to the table in finding a solution to the emerging, what seems to be a fairly complex debt problem in many parts of the world, which is encouraging. And she does mention Sri Lanka at one point, which is what the media has picked up. From what I recall hearing, she used the example of Suriname and Sri Lanka, in that we are not able to participate in the already agreed common framework that is only applicable to low-income countries. I think she mentioned Chad and Zambia and some other country. Now there, China has some sort of mechanism, and they are working with those countries to try and resolve the debt restructure. But there is no agreement of any sort for countries outside of those that fall within the common framework. So that's the issue. I don't know whether it was the IMF chief or the other person who said that this is like a maze. Actually, they use the word tunnel, a dark tunnel almost, that you can't see where you're going. But we need to find the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So how do you do that, right? So China is essential in figuring out the strategy going forward. She also said at one point, it's like China is in one room, Paris Club is in another room, the bondholders are in yet a third room, etc. And they are not working together, right? And it must be understood that all parties must come together to find some sort of way out. So to that extent, I think what she's saying is that the response she got from the senior Chinese officials is that they are willing to consider, but that doesn't mean Sri Lanka specific. They said anything about a Sri Lanka specific debt restructure. What they meant was a more broader macro framework that they are willing to sort of consider. Now, what you must realize is Sri Lanka's largest creditor is the Exim Bank of China. Right? We owe the most amount of money to Exim Bank of China. So unless we get Exim Bank of China on board, nothing is possible. Right? And without the Chinese specific and credible, I'm using those words, financial assurances, whatever the government is trying to use, whatever loophole in the law that they are trying to use, or whatever sidestep they are trying to use using most credit favored creditor status, etc., things will be almost impossible unless you have agreement with those guys, right? So the urgency is that, and unless we have specific and credible financial assurances from China, I don't see how this can move forward. And based on that, we also need good faith efforts towards resolving the international bondholders, requirements. So it is, to me, still quite a distance away. When they said December, people who understood the situation never in their wildest imaginations thought that was possible in December. Now they are saying January. I don't give it much, chance of that happening. The probability is very low in January. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. So that's that issue. And on the other one, on sort of the way forward, it's as if we are going to go into next year switching off our GPS, because the monetary policy roadmap is something that this country, people, investors, both inside, outside, market participants, got a sense of where we are headed for the next 12 months. This used to happen since 2008. But on 2023, there won't be a roadmap, is what we understand from the central bank. And the reason for that is they are saying the last roadmap was completely inaccurate. Cabral had given a 6 months roadmap saying they are going to be able to raise something like $12 billion and nothing came. So there is absolutely no credibility in the central bank roadmap anymore, is what they seem to say. And therefore there won't be a roadmap. Which means it's a big question mark. Ideally, the market would like to have some direction. Where are we headed? So there is no direction. So everybody is going to be sort of in the dark tunnel, like the IMF said, feeling their way through, or looking for the light at the end of it. So I don't see 23. At least we are going into 23 with so many question marks and so few answers. So things are not looking great at all. So therefore, my sort of summation of this is that President Ranil Wickremesinghe is working with a group that ideologically is completely disconnected with the vision that he has. Even today, the Porto people had called for nominations, I think, for their local government candidates. And the story is that all this is because of COVID, and that give them back office so they can again build towers and stadiums and conference halls and big roads and stuff like that, which is really the reason for the calamity that we are in. So if they don't understand what the problem is, how can they fix the problem? So there is an ideological conflict, right? It cannot be done, right? You're pulling in completely two different directions, right? It's no different from the Sirisena Wickremesinghe operation. It's no different, it's the same, right? So we need some cohesion. We need some ideological agreement, right? At least there has to be a direction, and we have to have some sort of roadmap. Yeah, we are going north easterly direction or southwesterly direction, something, right? So my honest opinion is that can only come with a change of government. The president has another 2 years or something constitutionally. He can stay, right? But at least by March rather, the president can call for an election. And I continue to hold this view that both the local government election and the general election can be held on the same day. It won't cost a single cent additionally to hold the general election. Why can't we do it? Right? Many countries do it. South Africa does it. Indonesia is doing it. India may do it. So many countries are doing it. Right? And let us have a government that can sort of win the confidence of the majority of the people. Without the confidence of the majority of the people, how are you going to implement anything? Without the confidence of the international community, how are you going to get them to agree on anything? Unfortunately, this combination of Mr. Wickremesinghe and the Rajapaksa government brings no confidence, neither to the international community nor to the people. So this is a dead-end street. And the more we postpone fixing it, the worse the problem is going to become, in my view. So let us all give everybody some hope by giving people the opportunity to select whoever they want. Whether it is us or somebody else or some third party, it doesn't matter. I get a group of people who has the confidence of the Sri Lankan population. With that, we can appeal to the world. This is the plan. We have a mandate. We are going to implement this. The people have confidence in us.
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.